welcome back to my channel. So it's Bernie here. If you're returning, hi, and if this is your first time on my channel, hello. Make sure you stick around to watch more of my videos. Now before you continue watching this video, I would say that if you haven't seen the part 1 to this, do watch that first before you watch this one. So yeah, I'll just get started with the video. So basically, before I was rudely interrupted with the camera, I was going on to talk about my time in my final year at my previous degree. So now, it was actually one of the most difficult times, probably say the most difficult times of my life. Basically because the first thing, I'd mentioned previously that I had gone to do a placement year, which I didn't plan to do at first. So, yeah, gone to do a placement year now, came back, and obviously my friends that I was with had graduated. Now, obviously I had people that had gone to do placement with, but it was a case of people that I was with throughout those 2-year periods, apart from people on my degree, like people that I'd lived with, old flatmates, friends that I just knew from other things, from like societies. They'd all graduated, and I was just here like, okay. So that kind of put me down at first, because everyone that I knew, everyone I kind of grew up with at uni was practically gone. So that was the first thing. Another thing as well was like dissertation. Now dissertation, I don't even know where. That's a big story, but I know around now is where a lot of students are getting stressed with dissertation. Listen, I was there at some point. It can be so stressful, from like you actually even doing dissertation and being on job, to your supervisors not being very helpful, to you actually doing the work and then they're like, oh nah, do this more, and you're thinking you're done, and then it's just a whole kerfuffle. So dissertation was stressful for me, because if you'd watched my previous video, I joined into I started doing my dissertation late, so I found that quite stressful. I also found it stressful in terms of exams as well. Now it was, I don't know, I think I just had this fear of this is it kind of thing, like this is it. Do you get what I mean? Like, this is my last push to like finish this degree, and that just put a lot of pressure on me. It was just like, wow, like Bernie, like wow, like this is actually it. And it was just so difficult, because like every time I tried to like voice my fears or voice my stress or anything, like people were like, what do you mean, you'll be fine, oh you did well in first year and second year, why you even worrying, oh Bernie, like, oh, like, well, why are you worrying? But everyone has a different stress level. I was stressed, like everything just dawned on me. And then plus I was thinking like, okay, after university, what am I doing? Am I going to work? Am I going to study further? Like, what am I going to do about my life? So all of that just stressed me the more. Like, it was just crazy. And then the final thing to top it all off was like during that period of time wasn't my best relationship with God, not even one of the worst times of like my relationship with God, because basically I kind of derailed a bit, and basically I had certain people around me that wasn't portraying the goods and the positives, basically, to put it as that. And this was like, I think this was like at the start of the year, like January, February time, and like it came to March and I was just like, Bernie, what are you doing with your life? And like that was around the time I was stressed with dissertation, submitting dissertation, exams. So yeah, like I said, my relationship with God wasn't too great, and I hadn't gone to church. I couldn't remember the last time I prayed. Like I could not remember the last time I actually like was thinking, oh God, like it was all gone. And I just found it harder and harder to get back to a relationship with God. Like I knew, I think I was questioning myself as well, that does God actually want me? Like, does he want me back? And I mean, of course I knew that, because if anyone came to me and said like, obviously whatever they were going through, and then said, would God still want me, would God forgive me, I'll be like, yeah, what do you mean? Like, of course. But I don't know why I couldn't get myself to actually make that first step, because all you need to do is actually make that first step, but I couldn't get myself to it. So I just kept, it was just a spiral basically. It was just like everything was just going downhill. Like, and then to make matters worse, everyone probably knows me as like a bubbly character, like, you know, quite loud possibly sometimes, you know, and like quite crazy. And like I would find myself, obviously I'm not in the mood, I'm stressed, I've got a low mood, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, like, but then because there's still this persona of how I am and what my character is like, I would fake it sometimes and just be like, you know, still do it, but deep down I know like I wasn't happy, like, or, you know, yeah, I wasn't happy basically. And then it would be like I'll go back to my room and then I'll just be like just crying, like, you know, like just back within your own four corners. And it was just like, okay, it dawned on me like this isn't exactly very great. So yeah, it was just, things were just happening and happening. Plus then I felt like whenever, like I mentioned, whenever I did mention things that's things that say, oh, I was stressed about uni or just anything, certain people that I mentioned it to would be like, yeah, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Or just shut me down. And then I just wanted to say, like, sometimes, regardless of how the person is or regardless of like what you're seeing, sometimes just listen to people. Sometimes I just want to, the way I am, sometimes I just want to rant and I just want you to listen. Just please just listen. And like, I don't even want you to advise me. Sometimes it's not just I just want you to listen. So it's someone to just spill your heart to, basically. And yeah, it just brings in as well, in terms of like resilience. A lot of people tend to think, oh, why is she so stressed? She's got this good for her, she's got that. Oh, that's so minute, why is she stressed about that? But everyone has got a different resilience. I can be so upset by the littlest of things, and then someone else, but like, will be looking at me like thinking what? And then like the really massive things, to them, I'm fine with it, I can carry on. So everyone has got a different threshold and everyone has got a different resilience. And I think it's important to always take that into account whenever people are talking about things and talking about how stressed they are. Don't dismiss their feelings. You have no right to know how they're feeling. Like, you know how you're feeling. You can never know how someone else feels. Even if you try to understand and you try to put yourself in their shoes, you don't know how they're feeling. So sometimes just listen and like, don't really per se try to solve the situation, just listen to them. And I feel like that's something I probably need to work on as well, communication. Like, I know how important it is, and not even in terms of like how you're feeling, just generally communication is obviously very important in whatsoever level, whatsoever situation, whatsoever relationship. Communication is important, but I don't know, I just find it so hard. But it's one thing I'm trying to work on. I do speak excuse me, I do talk about things, I talk about how I feel, but I find like sometimes I find it so hard to express how I feel. So sometimes I just keep quiet and not say anything, which is really bad because my friends have noticed as well. But anyway, so yeah, that's one thing I found hard. So anyway, so I've mentioned like what I've gone through, you know, the whole situation of being, you know, in a low mood, being anxious, being stressed. But how do you cope with things like this? How do you overcome things like this? How do you grow from it and identify it? So like I mentioned, the very, very, very first thing to do is to accept that this isn't you. This isn't how you know, you obviously know, but I don't know, I just found it so hard. Like I mentioned, I found it so hard to actually accept it because I was just like, but I'm not the type. Do you get what I mean, sugar? Like, I'm not the type to complain about not being happy, because I'm quite the opposite in terms of persona. So I feel like the first thing to do is to admit it. The second thing is to find people to talk about it with. Now, even if you particularly don't want to discuss with like family or friends, if you're at university, there are support groups. I don't know why I don't know if I knew about them or I just had a persona about it that it was negative. I didn't want counselling. I didn't want things like that. But it's not even, sometimes you just need someone to talk to, like I mentioned. And like, we're so lucky in my medical school that they are very, very, very big on support, at least to me anyway. At least to what I've seen. They've they're always, you know, sending out emails if you need to speak to anyone, even if it's just like general chatting. So there are support groups at universities. I'm sure, just check with your university's website. If you've got peer mentors as well, I was a peer mentor. It's funny because I was able to like talk people about what to do and how to overcome things, but I wasn't ready to accept it for myself. It doesn't make sense, I don't know. But yeah, try to find support groups around your universities or around your schools, or just speak to friends and family. But I know that sometimes people might find it hard to speak to like friends and families about certain things. You just want to talk to someone else that you don't know to get a different to get something different, I guess. There are also organizations or things that you can read as well about how to just improve your personal mood. Now, like I mentioned in the previous video, I'm not talking about depression because I don't know much about depression. All I know is technically, actually, there's a difference between mood depression and clinical depression. But regardless, I'm not talking about depression because I don't know much about that. I've never experienced, so I'm not going to dive into that. But anyway, I'm talking about like anxiety, low mood, and being very stressed. So yeah, there are things you can read up on how to like improve your mood, whether that be meditation, whether that be like different measures to take up as well. Another thing I found really useful is to be very active, well, just some form of activity. Now, whenever you exercise, your body releases, or your brain rather, releases certain hormones that just makes you happy. That's why you probably, if like you don't want to go to the gym or you don't want to do something, but when you finish doing it, you feel so good. So that can help, because that really helped me. It just kind of made a routine in my life as well. It was like, okay, bam, go to the gym or go for a run or go to this class, and you come back feeling a bit better about things. And that probably ties in as well to not isolating yourself. Isolating yourself is the worst thing you could do, what I found as well for myself, because you just basically sit in your own kind of like, you just, how do I explain this, you just sit in your own sorrows and your own pitying yourself and the whole shebang basically. But when you get yourself around with people, they probably like, depending on who, when you get yourself around with people, it lightens your mood as well. You're able to laugh with people, you're able to talk about things as well. That might be opportunities for you to talk about it if you find like you want to open up to that person. So do definitely not isolate. Like if it had gone to another level, people will probably start beating themselves up like, oh well, how come I never noticed this? But honestly, do not beat yourself up for that, because I think people have a mechanism, a way to like hide things, which I did as well. But I feel like one of the things that you could look out for is a change in their personality. If there's someone that usually quite out there and they suddenly become quite quiet, which is what I do, and I think like my friends have they've noticed it a lot now, especially in medical school. Like sometimes it's not even that, sometimes I just probably, it's not even like I'm in a low mood. Sometimes I just want to get on with work and I'm quiet, or I'm tired and I'm quiet, and they're like, oh Bernie, are you okay? They're messaging me and I'm just like, that's lovely guys, thank you, but I'm fine. And I think that's obviously a very good thing to pick up on if there's a change in their behavior. And one thing they mentioned to us at uni as well when we first started, they were like, obviously due to the stress of like medical school, if you notice your friend is no longer attending lectures, they have a different attitude to things, start picking up on little cues, just a change in how they see things. And you don't have to go up to them and be like, oh, are you depressed? Are you anxious? Are you stressed? Sometimes just a general, oh, you probably just talking about something will open, you can read certain signs and probably open them a bit more. So like I said earlier about the dissertation, I just wanted to give a quick motivation and encouragement. Anyone in the final year at the moment doing dissertations, going through the stress, the hustle and the bustle about dissertations, you would get through it. I never thought I would, but I did. So if I could get through it, you get through it as well, guys. Just keep on, just keep the faith. Keep the faith. just keep on working hard, and in a couple months you'll be done. You can actually flip your hat. You can flip your hat because you're graduated and you're done. But anyway, I hope you guys have found this helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, or any suggestions about things on what I've said. Don't forget to subscribe as well, guys. Make sure you click the subscribe button. Anyway guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.